to 1973. It was a little bit different then, so listen up.
I just started.
That was 48 years ago.
Is it on now?
Which is amazing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it was like. You know the grass that you have recess on that's over there? There was no grass. There was just a house there. So we would play hopscotch and jump rope in the parking lot in the back there. And then a couple times a week, we would walk to St. Rayfield School and use their grass to have our PE class. We didn't have football, but we had basketball, and we had cheerleaders. But our uniforms were 100% wool, long sleeve sweaters, and skirts. But they were really good looking. And we had pre-K through grade 7 on this campus back in 1970. And 6th grade was upstairs on the left there, and 7th grade upstairs on the right. And you got in trouble if you wore too much makeup. And we had a really handsome math teacher named Mr. Brandborg who came from Denmark. And we had never even heard of Denmark back then. We thought that was really exciting. And by the end of the year, he was dating the history teacher, Miss Grass. So that was exciting too. We had flag, but we didn't have flag here. We had flag where the Curry Garden is. And if the temperature dropped below a certain level, you were allowed to wear go-go boots, and you'll have to ask your parents what go-go boots were, or your grandparents. Under your jumper, if you were a girl, you got to wear go-go boots. And let's see what else I was telling you. Oh, we had chapel every day. We had communion on Tuesday, and all the boys had to wear ties. And then on Tuesday afternoon, the 6th graders had religious studies for several hours, and that counted as their confirmation class. So there was a lot of church going back then. And your uniform had a Canterbury crest on it that your mom or grandmother had to cut out and sew onto your uniform before school started. And some of those results were pretty hilarious too. Let's see here. Oh, I thought this was kind of interesting too. I was starting to think about the people I went to 6th grade with all those many decades ago. And I still have friends from 6th grade, including my eldest daughter's godmother was my 6th grade friend that I met my first week of living in Florida because I moved here from up north. So you don't know, 48 years from now, you may know a lot of each other because you're in a very, very special place. And thank you so much for letting me talk to you.
All right, so our first graders are going to help us today with our time line. So come on out, let's do a little fashion show. Come on, first graders, line up right here. Now, the fashions were kind of mixed. We had preppy clothes, we had mini skirts, we had jeans and the grunge look. We had some heroes, like Hulk Hogan, like, who's that? Wayne's World. Check out Wayne's World. So give the first graders a hand. We'll see you guys in a minute. The music was a little mixed too. Boy bands were in, Boyz II Men, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, a little bit of heavy metal back then. But we still love Michael Jackson and some of the Alright, so now we're going to get started. 1988 to 1989. This was the year that the upper campus became the Knowlton campus. So, I've spoken many, many times about John and Betty Knowlton, who loved this school. Mr. Knowlton's daughter and her husband are here. You're going to come on up one more time. You met them last week or the week before, but the Knowltons were special, special people, and because of their distinguished service and outstanding generosity, the campus, the upper campus, was named the Knowlton campus in honor of your parents. Yes? Yes. And tell us just a little bit about their connection. They're no longer with us, but just tell us a little about their connection with campus.
Well, they started with our daughters going to school here, and they just thought it was very important to help keep this school going. So they supported it, and they went to church here, so they thought it was very important that this school survive, and it has. And they just always loved the school, the students, and everything.
Thank you. And we've got grandchildren, great-grandchildren that have attended and graduated from the Knowlton campus. And Breck Moorfield is a member of the Knowlton family. So thank you for carrying on your tradition with your son here. So thank you so much. And your two other children. Sorry, we don't forget them. So thank you very much for being here. Now, Hayden, where are you? There you are. Come on up here, Hayden. Hayden brought somebody special today, his mom. This is Lucy Yeager, and she is a teacher at the upper school, but guess what? Guess what? 1989 is when she graduated from Canterbury.
I think your math is a little fuzzy. no, it was 1989. I'm in denial. So yes, I actually started going to Canterbury in 1982. I had been at Pasadena when it wasn't a fundamental school, and it just wasn't challenging enough, and so I was lucky enough to be awarded a scholarship to attend Canterbury. I was at the St. Albans campus, which was out on St. Pete Beach. St. Albans Episcopal Church is still there. And I was there for a year, and it was wonderful. And then in 7th grade, the most exciting thing happened. We went to middle school, and that was on the Eckerd College campus, which, that was awesome. I mean, we really thought we were something, going to a college campus every day. We got to use the facilities there. And then in 8th grade, we were kind of in transition while the Knowlton campus was being built and finalized, and we were in a building near St. Pete Catholic. And we call those the years we were wandering in the desert, because it was really a transitional time. But you know, we were kids. I don't know what it would have been like to have been a teacher then, because it must have been very challenging. But to kids, it was fun. We had loving teachers, and it was awesome. And then in my 8th grade year, we got to move on to the Knowlton campus, but it did not look like it looks today. It was amazing to have our own place, but I have to tell you, 19 years later as a teacher, and many decades later as an alum, it's so exciting to see that campus. And if you don't come up for a game, come up for a homecoming, and just see how beautiful it is. Of course, when I walk the halls, I think about being an 8th grader in those hallways, and you know, eating Taco Bell for lunch and sitting on the floor. So I was graduated in 1989 and went off to college, and that's when I realized the gift of Canterbury, because I was so incredibly well prepared, and I'm just so thankful. In 2000, I returned as a teacher, and then my son started in pre-K 3. So we are a Canterbury family, and as you can see, this is just like a family. We come back, we love each other, back there hugging each other. So that's a special place to have, to help grow our children and be together. So thank you for letting me be a part of it, and my son as well.
Back then, the campus did look different. There was only one central academic building. That's all we had is one building. The auditorium was in that one building. It's where a classroom is right now across from the cafe. There was no lunchroom. So like Ms. Yeager said, they had to sit on the floor in the hallway to eat. And they went to Puryear Park down the street. They had to walk to have PE on those fields. There was no entrance off of 62nd Avenue. You had to go through the neighborhood on 58th Avenue. So it's changed a lot. This is the year that Mrs. Hobby came, and Mrs. Kokinski, who was our pre-K 4 teacher, she was a student back then. Catherine Clark, where are you? Oh yeah, your dad was in 4th grade this year. So thank you, sit down. All right, 1989, 1990. Our enrollment this year was 264 students. There was one class of 4-year-olds, and we opened up a second class for the kindergarten. And this is the year that I came, and I taught that kindergarten class. Remember Mrs. Matthews from last week? Well, she took a group of students to Italy. that year. And this is crazy. You won't know who this is, but your parents will. There was a really cool singer named John Denver, and our 5th graders got to sing in a Christmas show with him at the Bayfront Theater, which is now the Mahaffey Theater. We've got some 1st graders that are going to come and give us a little insight into the world at that time. So let's see what facts they have for us. We could do a drum roll. All right. Ezekiel, what is your fact?
The Berlin Wall comes down 1989.
Berlin Wall came down.
Tropical Fields is built in 1990. Hubble Space Telescope launched in 1990.
That's when the Hubble Space Telescope launched. Thank you, guys. All right, let's now move to 1990, 1991. Now, this is an interesting year. Nancy Chase had been our pre-K4 teacher at St. Albans and then at on this campus. She felt that she had a calling to help children in a different way than teaching. So she contacted the Salvation Army, and she says, you know what, we need a place where children can go if their home life is not real good. So it was a Canterbury teacher's dream and passion and vision to start Sally House. Now that name might sound very familiar to you because every Thanksgiving from 1991 to this day today, we give things to the Sally House so those children can have a happier life. So if it wasn't for Canterbury and a teacher with a loving heart, St. Petersburg would not have Sally House, and we always want to support that, and we want to remember that that's a great way Sally House started. So with an opening in pre-K4, she left. I took that position, and that meant we needed a new kindergarten teacher. So, you guys have met Mrs. Longquist. Mrs. Longquist started the year after Canterbury just became. So remember, she was here like right from the beginning. Well, she had a daughter, and her name was Carol Russell. And guess what? Her daughter, Carol, Miss Russell came and taught the kindergarten class. Oh, but wait a minute. But then Miss Russell had a daughter named Rachel, and she came to pre-K4. So in 1991, we had 3 generations teaching and going to school here, and they're here today. So I would like Ms. Longquist, Ms. Russell, and Mrs. Russell, and Miss Russell to please come on up. This is so exciting. All right. They're going to tell just a little bit about, I know this year was just warm to Ms. Longquist's heart.
Oh, it was. It was just fun to come and be one of the beginnings of Canterbury School. I had a friend that was instrumental in starting the school, and they insisted, and I wasn't even sure I wanted to go back to work, but I did, and it was a wonderful experience. It just, to see and to listen to all of these things that have happened over the years makes my heart happy.
I have a fun story. When I was the kindergarten teacher here, I had 2 kindergartners that every week would bring their rest towel and put in their cubbies. And every day when it was rest time, the one little girl would get her towel from her cubby, put it down. And then one of the other students, a little boy, would go to his cubby, get his rest towel and put it down. And every single day, this little boy would put his rest towel so he could see this other little girl. His name was Gregory, and her name was Libby. I always thought it was interesting because they would always smile, the sweetest smile smiles at one another. And I noticed year after year after year, the older they got, they continued to smile at one another. So imagine how exciting it was for me at their Canterbury graduation when they were in the 12th grade to see they were still smiling at one another. And you're never going to believe this. They went on to school and those smiles continued. And one day they realized, you know what? I think this smile has turned into true love. And so, two of my kindergartners, Gregory Bolden and Libby Knowlton, decided to marry each other. And it gets more exciting than that. After they were married, they had babies. And guess what? The oldest of their babies is now at the Canterbury School of Florida. So look around, kindergartners. The girl of warrior dreams may be in your life.
And the story continues. Abby, come here. This is their child. Abby, you're in kindergarten.
Excuse me. Is Libby your mom?
Is Gregory your daddy?
I have loved them as long as I have known them. And guess what? When I first met them,
They were just your age.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rachel Russell, the tail end of the 3 generations here. And I actually started, so if you guys want to hear a funny story. So did you know that there used to not be a 3-year-olds? It was just 4K. But I was 3 years old. And Mom said, I'm only going to come and teach at Canterbury if my daughter, who is 3, can come too. So guess who got Miss Bridge for 2 years? This girl. But it gets better than that. There were some of my friends who also, they were a little younger, and they had a lot of siblings, like 3 of them. And their mom said, if Rachel gets to go as a 3-year-old, I'm dropping off my little one too. So did you know that I have 2 friends, Missy Dykoff and Robert Donaldson, and that we were in every single class together from the time that we were 3 to the time that we graduated as 18-year-olds. The only time we didn't is Robert took Spanish and I took French and I took physics and he took marine biology. So what I'm here to tell you is that all of these friends, you might not marry them, but you're going to know them always. I'm so excited that I got to be here today, and one of my classmates, we were sitting there. I have not said the Canterbury prayer in a whole lot of years, probably 15 of them. And I was sitting back there and I knew every single word. So parents, thank you for investing in the spiritual growth of your students as well as the academic growth. It never really leaves.
This is so fun. We have some teachers at the upper school that came this year, and they're still here. Mrs. Rosario, Mrs. Hain, and Mr. J. They all came to Canterbury this year. Sarah Mallon was in high school, and she won districts in tennis. Back then, our tennis teams was like out of this world. And also, President was President Bush, first President Bush, and our 5th graders got to go to a speech that he gave. And so that was a highlight of that year. Let's move on to 1991-92. We had 2 lifetime teachers that retired this year. Ann Wetherell was with us for 26 years. She started on the beach campus as a teacher, then became the director, and then when the 2 campuses merged, she taught 2nd grade. She was always smiling. She was always happy. She was always encouraging to her students and the faculty. And at the end of the year on this campus, you always hear about the Ann Wetherell Sunshine Award. She made such an impact on the faculty that we came up with an award named after her. And remember the Matthews from last week? Their son Chris, he was the first recipient of the Ann Wetherill Sunshine Award. Another teacher was Carolyn Horton, and she retired after 28 years at Canterbury. She started on the Beach campus, she went to St. Peter's campus, she went to Eckerd College campus, and she went to the Knowlton campus. And the high school has an award after her name, and it's given to the outstanding junior that demonstrates the highest degree of scholarship, leadership, and service throughout their high school years. The first recipient of the Carolyn Horton Award was Shannon Peacock. Now, their theater production was Steel Magnolias that year, and the 8th graders got to take a trip to Washington, D.C. We have some other highlights of our world, so let's bring out some more first graders. And my, they look so stunning. Oh yeah, you're right. All right, David, what was happening?
The World Wide Web becomes an internet service in 1991.
Finally had the World Wide Web come this way. Mr. McGordon will show you where to put that. All right, how about you, buddy?
First text message sent 1992.
We use text messages all the time, and 1992 was the first one ever sent.
Popular TV shows from 1994.
Friends was popular in 1994.
Gas was $1.30.
Oh, I wish we could go back to that. Gas, $1.30. Goodness, we're not. All right. All right. We're going to move on. Okay, 1992, 1993, the campus, the Knowlton campus was our home to our 6th through 12th graders. It was great, but there was something missing. We didn't have a gym. So thanks to the parents and committed friends of Canterbury, the money was raised, and we had an all-school groundbreaking ceremony. We couldn't wait to have the first basketball game, the first volleyball game, the first pep rally, and the new gym. But it took a long time to build. But this was the groundbreaking year. Our girls' tennis team was still on fire. They won districts. Laura Barondit was ranked 3rd in the whole state. Beauty and the Beast and Godspell were the 2 theater productions. And we had our first mini-term, and students got to go all the way to Greece. Mr. Ken Johnson at the upper campus, who's still there, he joined the faculty. When you go to a sporting event, you'll always hear him with his Go Canterbury. You can always hear Mr. Johnson. 1993, 1994. Now this was a very important year for Canterbury. We celebrated our 25th anniversary. This campus was finally going to get its name. Remember, we were the Northeast campus, we were the Snell Isle campus, we were the St. Thomas campus. Nobody really knew what to call us. Oh. Because of their constant and long-lasting support for our school, our campus was named in honor of Hazel and Bill Huff. So now we are known as the Huff campus. And guess what? We have Rob Huff, who is the son of Hazel and Bill, with us today. Mr. Huff, can you please come up here and say a few words? He's been here a really long time.
She didn't tell me I was going to have to talk. But it's great to be here. And I am very proud of my parents that the school chose to name this campus after them. It means an awful lot to them and to my sisters and me. All 4 of my kids went to school here. They graduated in varying times from 2006 until 2014. And I was a parent hanging out at this campus and the upper school campus for 22 years. And when I left, there was probably 6 or 7 teachers and administrators that had been there as long as I had, and Mrs. Bridges, one of them. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And at this time, our enrollment is 377 students. We have 35 teachers and 11 administrators. Now, to make this year so special, the faculty and students decided that they would do some community service to celebrate our 25 years in the community. So, some students volunteered at American Stage's new children's theater. They visited elementary schools and used puppetry to teach about special children's needs. And many of us participated in the Paint St. Pete Proud project. It was so much fun. Our new field house, that's another word for Jim. Our new field house was ready for our first basketball games, the first volleyball games, our first pep rallies, and our first PE classes. And our new field house was named the Kenyon Field House in honor of our head of school, Jack Kenyon. And we had our first field day at the field house, and we started our first alumni basketball game, which we still have now. Now, to mark the 25th anniversary, we decided it would really be fun if all the students would decide as a class something to put in a time capsule. A time capsule is a big box that you put treasures in and you bury it. And we decided we're going to bury that with all our treasures. And when the school turns 50, we would dig it up. Oh, guess what? We're turning 50, and we're going to dig it up in a couple of weeks, and we're going to see what's inside. And you know what's really exciting? Many of the students that buried it are coming back so they can help dig it up. We even have a girl coming from Virginia to do that, so that's going to be exciting. Now this is an interesting fact. Mr. Davis, as you know, Thursdays, he wrote our school prayer. And this was the first year that we said our school prayer on our 25th anniversary. We're going to move on. 1994, 1995. This is the year that Miss Herzig came back. Remember, she started, then she moved away, and then she came back. And Miss Patty joined Canterbury this year in 1994. So Miss Patty's going to come and tell us a little bit about things back then. Oh, they were very different.
Hi guys. When I started here, the office that is right behind us where me and Mr. McGoran and Miss Yetet house ourselves was actually the library. So I got to hear Mrs. Little, she was a librarian, I got to hear all the stories that she would read to the kids. And it was really fun. My office was extremely small, I can tell you that. When I started there, we didn't even have a computer. I was working on a typewriter. And I brought my own computer from home. This is it. And it used these. You guys probably have no idea what these are. These are floppy disks. And that's what I did. And I started at Canterbury, and it was a whole lot of fun. I'm glad to be here.
Miss Joyce Brown at the upper school, she came this year. We have some more facts about the world. Come on, first graders. Oh, I think maybe Hulk's coming to visit. All right, come on out here. What was happening in the world, my friends?
In 1997, first DVD was invented.
First DVD. This way, buddy.
Tickle Me Elmo, 96.
Tickle Me Elmo came in 1996. It's been around a long time.
Titanic, the movie. Tambourines, 1998.
Good job. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays came in 1998. All right, moving on. We're in 1995. We're getting there. 1995, 1996. We had a very large class of seniors. We had 28 seniors, which was the record. Oh my goodness. And on the Knowlton campus, we got computers. That was a big deal. The 7th graders began the tradition of swimming with the manatees, and they still do that today. We had 2 new teachers come, Miss Molly Smith and Miss Nancy Daly. Now, you know where the kindergarten and the library is? You know that big building? Well, it wasn't there. We had a portable, so we had this makeshift classroom. And it had a music room, and then it had a teacher's workroom, and we kept changing it. But we wanted, and the library was still in Miss Ciatat's office. Next time you go to Miss Ciatat's office, visualize that. That was the size of our library. Well, we did have some bookcases on the wall that you had to walk through. But we wanted like a real library. So we began to imagine what it would look like. And thanks to several families, our dream has come true. This summer, we moved out the portable and we started building our new building. We had district champion in golf this year with Dustin Adcats. Our girls tennis, they were still on fire. District championships with Kristen Sanderson, Janet Walker, and Leslie Kramer. So 1996, 1997, yay. The building is built, your building, and where the library is. We house 2 kindergarten classes, a teacher's workroom, and a huge library upstairs. It was truly a dream come true, and there were several families that made it happen. The family of Catherine Genvert, who is the grandmother of Ginger Gower, who was a student who graduated. The Winiger family made it happen. The Huff and the Knowlton families made it happen. And the Donaldson family, is Asia here? She was going to come. The Donaldson family, and that's who our library is named after. And they made it happen. But this morning was very exciting because we didn't want to just, say, oh, well, we have a new building, let's get in it. We really wanted to make it special. And so we started everybody in the chapel that day. So we had a beautiful church service in the chapel. And then we sang, Miss Daly had the tone chime choir, and then we all went to that gigantic building and we circled around it and we all held hands. And we had some more songs, and we had some more prayers, and it was blessed by the father of St. Thomas, Father Thompson, and then we all raised our hands and we shouted Alleluia. It was so exciting. One of the Donaldson girls, Asia, she graduated this year, and she was going to try to make it, but she couldn't. But anyway, that's how we started that beautiful building. Now, this is exciting. We had a swim dive team. You can have a swim team, but you can also have a team that is just in diving. We had one. Well, one person was on. He had passion so strongly that we decided, you know what, you love to dive? Absolutely, we're going to support you. So Canterbury had a dive team. His name was Jason Gillespie, and he placed 1st and 3rd in districts of everybody. Miss J at the upper campus, she became members at that time. Do we have some more facts? Do we have any more yellow facts, Mrs.? No, okay, good, I didn't know so. 1997, 1998, this is the last year of this decade. We had a brand new head of school, and his name was David Dyke. And our enrollment was at the all-time high, 435 students. Miss Ciatat came that year. I don't know where she is, but she's around here somewhere. Mr. Winus was here, and Mrs. Carney was here. And get this, the seniors, they took a trip to Spain, France, and another group took a trip to New York City. Lucky, lucky. We had 2 awesome tennis male players at that time, Daniel McCain and Kyle Nelson. They went on to graduate from Canterbury. They were outstanding tennis players, and they carried district championships in doubles and singles for several years. Ezekiel and Noah, where are you? Stand up. Oh, Ezekiel's out there.
Well, no.
Is Noah here?
Stand up now.
Stand up. Guess what? Your brother Michael, he was in 7th grade. We'll hear more about him later. Thank you so much. Are you aware of his? That's right. I was going to say Michael was a phenomenal theater person. I was going to talk about him next decade, but check out this year, because that's his glacier. So, we grew a lot. We learned a lot. We changed a lot. So thank you so much for being so patient. We have some people in the house. We have Mr. Hall with us today. Welcome, welcome. We have Mr. McMullen. Welcome, welcome. We have Matt Adams, who is a graduate of Canterbury, and his mom, Angela. I know her well, sorry. Is there anybody else that's here that I missed? And Matt, do you want to say anything, or just wave from the back? Oh, he's just waving from the back. He just graduated with his master's degree, so we're excited about that. Mr. Hall, did you want to say something?
I know it's Matt.
Oh, sorry, the younger one. The younger Mac. There you go. Oh, that's funny. Mac and Mac. That's cute. And Sue Hannah is back here. She's been a member of Canterbury for many, many, many years. And I want to say something because she's not going to be here. The library at the Knowlton campus is named in honor of her parents. And so we appreciate that very much. We'll mention Mr. McMullen at another decade. So thank you all very much. You're a fabulous audience. Thank you. First graders, can you come out one more time? We need to give you a round of applause.
All right, thank you, first grade. Let's give one more round of applause. And thank you, Mrs. Bridge, for all the things together each and every week. She's put in a lot of work, so also thank you to Mrs. Bridge. Scarecrow, are you coming back next week?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you going to bring friends this time? Okay, we're holding you to it. Ms. Novak is going to close out flat with the honor code, so go ahead and stand up.
Stand up, we're going to do the honor code.